All right, good afternoon. As you know, the Deputy Secretary General is in London, where she's taking part in the Global Disability Summit. At the ministerial event this morning, Amina Mohammed said that the commitments of governments to advance the rights of persons with disabilities is well established. However, she said, too often this political commitment has now translated into significant improvements in the lives of the 1.5 billion persons with disabilities across the world. She noted that too many persons with disabilities, no matter where they live or their disabilities, face discrimination. At the UN, she added, the Secretary General has launched a review of the organization's approach to disabilities, both institutionally and operationally, that we hope to move forward with specific improvements in 2019. Later this year, the Secretary General will be issuing his first ever flagship report on disability and development, which will provide much needed baseline regarding the situations of persons with disabilities in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. Also participating in the summit are Emergency Relief Coordinator Mark Lowcock, as well as the head of the UN Development Program, Akim Steiner, and the Executive Director of UNICEF, Henrietta Fore. Mr. Lowcock called for the inclusion of people with disabilities and their organizations in planning for and implementing responses to humanitarian crises. At least 15% of the more than 130 million people worldwide who are in need of humanitarian aid have disabilities, he said. And in his briefing to the Security Council today, Nikolai Mladenov, the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, warned that tensions between Syria and Israel continue to rise, while last Saturday we were minutes away from another devastating confrontation between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He said it has taken an intense effort at preventive diplomacy by the UN and Egypt to make sure that both sides step back from the brink of potentially the fourth military confrontation in Gaza in the past decade. Mr. Mladenov said he returned to Jerusalem from Gaza today and is hopeful that with collective efforts by all sides, we can avoid another war, allow Palestinians in Gaza and Israeli communities across the border to sleep in peace and begin addressing all humanitarian issues. Today, he reported the first 100,000 liters of much-needed fuel was allowed through the Karim Shalom crossing to be distributed by the UN, which is prioritizing hospitals and emergency services. He also reiterated his call to all in Gaza to step back from the brink. Those who seek to provoke Israelis and Palestinians to war must not succeed, he said. And of course, his statement was made available to you. And our humanitarian colleagues say that yesterday part of a dam under construction in the south of the Lao People's Democratic Republic broke, with at least 20 people being killed and many more missing. The government has declared the flood area a national emergency disaster zone. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance has been mobilized to assist and is liaising with the UN's Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The Secretary General is deeply saddened by the loss of life, and he extends his condolences to the government and the people of the country. And the United Nations is, of course, on standby to assist as needed and requested. And UNICEF today said it deplores in the strongest terms yet another attack on vital life-saving water systems in Yemen. The agency says a large water facility in Sada, in northwest of the country, came under attack this week. This is the third such attack in the same facility. More than half of the project is now damaged, cutting off 10,500 people from safe drinking water. UNICEF says the continuous attacks on the water systems in Yemen are cutting off children and civilians from water, increasing the likelihood of waterborne diseases and spreading in the war-torn country. And today marks the end of the 9th outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The World Health Organization congratulates the country and all those involved in ending this outbreak, recalling that unlike previous Ebola outbreaks in the country, this one involved 4 separate locations, including urban centers with river connections to the capital and to neighboring countries. The total funds received by all partners to stop the spread of Ebola has tracked by the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs to $63 million. In the country, WHO's Director General, Dr. Tedros, urged the DRC government and the international community to build on the positive momentum generated by the quick containment of this Ebola outbreak to extend this success to combating other diseases in the DRC, such as cholera and polio. And ahead of the presidential elections in Zimbabwe on July 30th, our human rights colleagues welcomed the widening of the democratic space and said it was encouraging to see, to see open political rallies and peaceful demonstrations being held in the capital Harare, as well as expressions of cautious optimisms from civil society. However, they remain concerned at the increasing number of reports, particularly in some rural areas, of voter intimidation, threats of violence, harassment, and coercion, including people being forced to attend political rallies. They've also been worrying use of disparaging language against female political candidates. Our humanitarian rights colleagues call on the authorities and all political parties and their supporters to ensure that the elections are not marred by such acts, so that all Zimbabweans can participate from free from fear in credible election process. And just, I know there were some questions yesterday about the resettlements of the 422 Syrian citizens from southern Syria into Jordan. I just want to make sure that everybody takes a look at the press release from UNHCR issued over the weekend, which has all the necessary details. Mr. Klein.
Yes, in his remarks to the Security Council this morning, Mr. Mladenov said, among other things, that, quote, our work is focused on restoring unity between Gaza and the West Bank under one democratic government and one legal system where all weapons are under the control of legitimate national authorities. So on the assumption that Mr. Mladenov is speaking in part on behalf of the Secretary-General, can this be interpreted as a position now of the UN that all weapons in Gaza, particularly, should be under the control of the Palestinian Authority, which is recognized as a legitimate national authority?
Yeah, and that's always been the position of the UN. That's nothing new.
I've seen in the past in terms of administrative control, but this is the first time I've seen a very explicit statement that all weapons should be under the control. In other words, removed from Hamas. I just want to clarify that.
What it means is that Gaza and the West Bank should be reunited under the authority of the Palestinian Authority.
But the issue is the weapons, because
well,
in the past,
obviously with the I mean, as I said, it should be under the control of legal state authorities, which is the Palestinian Authority.
Thank you, Stéphane. On this, on Palestine and Gaza, the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner, Prince Zaid, has said that arbitrary military detentions and deprivation to attacks against civilians forced the displacement of hundreds and thousands of Palestinians in the current
No, I heard what he said. Yes,
yeah.
What is your question?
Does the Secretary-General agree with this, what
the Secretary-General has made his concerns known. The High Commissioner is the voice of human rights of the UN. As we've said before, it's not for the Secretary-General to agree or disagree. The High Commissioner is doing his job, and the Secretary-General has expressed his concerns over human rights issues in his regular briefings to the Council, either directly or through his representatives. George.
In the case of, follow-up, does the Secretary-General believe that under the inalienable rights of the Palestinians, do they have the right to defend themselves by any means whatsoever?
I think the Secretary-General's position has been explained over and over again in his periodic briefings to the Security Council. You cannot hear me now? All right. Well, Tom, maybe we can raise the audio. I can hear myself, which is already a start. Hold on. Okay. Can you hear me now? I've heard that somewhere before. George. Your microphone, please, so we can hear you. Your microphone, please, so we can hear you. It's Tuesday comedy hour here. Yes.
With reference to your statements about outbreaks of occasional violence in Zimbabwe. Is there any correlation or any reports as to whether they are mostly pro-government, anti-government? Are there residual pro-Mugabe forces or forces of the new president, or is there?
No,
yet
we've not gone into that into that deep of analysis, and we've just this is from our human rights colleagues. I think they have seen reports of various outbreaks of violence. Nizar, and then James.
Yeah, I for one have been complaining about Easy TV for 6 years, since its inception, and we failed today to follow the Security Council meeting on many channels as a result of the snags which are prevailing in this system, which is collapsing, literally. Even the briefing which we are here in is not broadcast on Easy TV. The United Nations have spent billions of dollars.
Nizar, you're not the only one. I'm fully understand the issue. I have called as many people as I can physically call to try to deal with this issue. I want this to be settled. It's embarrassing. I know you all pay a hefty fee monthly. Short of me trying to solder some wires together, I don't know what more I can do, but I will try to keep pushing.
Even this briefing is not broadcast.
That I'm happy to see. I'm sorry for that, but at least I'm happy to see you in the room. James.
We mentioned the High Commissioner for Human Rights. His job ends at the end of August. We saw the very transparent process for the selection of a Secretary-General. The High Commissioner's is one of the most important voices in the UN system. There seems to be not a very transparent process. Can you tell us the state of the selection process, and does the Secretary-General hope to have a new High Commissioner in place by the time the existing High Commissioner's term?
Yes, that we do hope. The selection process is the same as for all senior UN officials. I would say that with the added twist here of a specific outreach to civil society groups. We have written to the major human rights organizations and other civil society groups, encouraging them to bring to put names forward. That process is ongoing. Mr. Abadi, and then we'll go there. Sorry.
Thank you, Stéphane. It was announced that the Secretary General is taking vacation between the 23rd of this month and 3rd of August. Where is he taking the vacation?
He is somewhere with his family trying to have some privacy. Yes.
Thank you, Steph. I wonder what's the view of the Secretary General on the report showing some images about North Korea dismantling these satellite launch places there. Does he believe this report is a positive sign on the overall process of denuclearization in the peninsula?
We're only seeing, like you, the images have been reported on various news sites. Obviously, if this were to be confirmed, it would be a positive step. But I have we have no specific knowledge beyond what we've seen in the media.
And maybe any additional steps to actually be able to confirm this by the UN?
You know, obviously the UN, as the Secretary General said, stands ready to assist in assisting and, more importantly, in verifying the denuclearization process. Nizar.
Yeah, when the Syrian air fighter was shot down today, it was attacking Daesh positions in the Yarmouk Basin. How does the Secretary General view the protection of ISIS by the Israeli authorities?
Look, I have I obviously, Secretary General, has no way of knowing the details or the purposes of whatever military operations were ongoing. For our part, the UN observer group in the Golan this afternoon in local time observed burning debris falling from an aircraft approximately 10 kilometers southeast of the observation post. It was observation post number 54. The Syrian authorities confirmed to the UN, to UNDOF, that Syrian aircraft was shot down by Israel. They, the Syrians, said the aircraft was flying in Syrian airspace and had not violated the Disengagement of Forces Agreement of 1974. At the same time, the Israeli Defense Forces confirmed to UNDOF that the IDF had monitored and intercepted with a Patriot missile a Syrian fighter jet that had infiltrated 2 kilometers into Syrian airspace. And obviously, at this point, we're continuing to monitor the situation, and see if we have any more details, we will share them with you.
So you mean that UNDOF did not observe that the air fighter has flew over the occupied Syrian Golan?
What the observers observed is debris from an airplane coming down in the locations which I've just stated. The Israelis communicated to UNDOF their position. The Syrian government communicated to UNDOF its position as to where the plane had been flying. If we have any more details, we will share those with you.
A follow-up on that. How does the Secretary General view the presence of ISIS in that area, in the separation zone?
Look, we have, I think it is important that I have no particular information on that information. So I will refrain from commenting at this point. Mr. Klein.
Yeah, I want to ask a question about Haiti, just to get this current status of payments of compensation under the plan that had been outlined by former Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, of compensation to communities and individuals, for the cholera outbreak in Haiti. What is the current status?
All the funds raised by the UN, I don't have them on top of my head, but they're all publicly available on the relevant website, and I'll share that website address with you.
Well, so, again, my question is more focused on the actual receipt of money.
Right. No, I mean, I think all the information is on the website, and if it's not, I will share that with you. Yes, Monsieur.
Stéphane, on this Rohingya refugees, is there any movement on their repatriation at all?
No, the conditions on the ground are not conducive to a safe, and voluntary and dignified return of the Rohingyas back into northern Rakhine.
Is the United Nations the representative going to meet with the Myanmar authorities?
I think, as you may have seen yesterday, the Secretary-General Special Envoy for Myanmar briefed the Security Council, and then she spoke at the stakeout. I would encourage you to take a look at what she said. Mr. Varma, after Linda.
Thank you, Steph. I have a question regarding Hamas. The Israeli ambassador said today, of course, that Hamas is a terrorist group, and this is often said. And also the United States, as well as I believe the European Union, considers Hamas a terrorist group. I was just wondering what the U.S. position is on Hamas and how it's characterized.
That designation of a terrorist group is made by the Security Council. We have condemned Hamas repeatedly when they have committed terrorist acts. Thank you.